Welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Scream 7 being called Scream Returns. I'm your host 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Scream 7, released in 2026. Scream 7 is this time around directed by Kevin Williamson, who created Scream, and Williamson has written the script with Guy Busick and James Vanderbilt. The movie stars Neve Campbell once again, Isabella May, Jasmine Savory Brown, Mason Gooden, Ann Camp, David Arquette, Michelle Randolph, Jimmy Trejo, McKenna Grace, Asa Goodman, Celeste O'Connell, Mark Consuelo, Sam Reichner, Tim Simmons, Joel McHale, and Courtney Cox, with a camp special appearance by Matthew Lillard. The movie is essentially the movie's essentially the 7th installment where Sidney Prescott, who wasn't in Scream 6, is living her life and has a teenage daughter, and basically she's trying to raise her teenage daughter. Then when killings start happening again in her town, and then she gets a video call from Stu Macher, who is revealed to be alive, and then she's like worried, is it really him or is it an AI? And is it someone close to me? And so all the stuff unravels to where her and Gail have to race against the clock to find out the truth. I am a huge Scream fan, okay? And so when I heard that this movie was happening, I was kind of scared because, so I'm a big, massive Scream fan, okay? I love Scream 1, Scream 2. The only movie I don't like is Scream 3. And even I have issues with 5, I still enjoy 5. When I saw like the reviews were coming out and everything, I was like, oh my God, I said, is this movie going to be bad? I don't want it to be bad, because there was like terrible reviews and everything. So I went and saw it today, and I was like, I'm going to go in, me and my aunt are big Scream fans. We watched all 6 movies, in preparation, rewatched them just to, see Scream 6. And yeah, so when I saw this movie, of course, I'm not going to lie, I'm not joking. Despite what John Campea and several other YouTubers have said, this movie is actually pretty good. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I know it's a hot take probably, but this movie has more story in a Scream movie than the last 2 movies, at least. Because the last 2 movies feels like they're rushing to get to the kills. I like Scream 5 and 6. I gave Scream 6 a great review. I just feel like with Scream 5 and 6, they rush to get to the kill. Like Scream 1 builds the story. And I'm not saying this is better than Scream 1 at all, by any means. But I feel like, what the Wes Craven was making, it feels like the movie has room to breathe before you get a kill, and then you'll get room to breathe and enjoy the movie before you get another kill. I mean, there's not a lot of kills. I would say the kills in this movie are less than probably about the same length of the first Scream when it comes to kills. Like, the kills are not every 5 minutes. There is a kill probably every 40 minutes maybe. And because the kill, there's one kill and then you don't see it until length about 30 or 40 minutes in, then you get another kill. Because the movie builds these characters up and sets these characters up and everything to where when you get to these characters, it actually is really cool that you understand when these characters die, you're like, oh, all right, I felt bad for this character because you got to spend time with them much longer than if it was, okay, there's this character, oh, they just got killed, all right, never mind. Oh, there's this character, oh, they just got killed, never mind. It's not like that, and I actually really enjoyed that about this movie. The one thing is, the kills are brutal. The kills, you could tell Kevin Williamson's back because the kills are really brutal, like the way they were in the Wes Craven movies. And it feels like this time around, Kevin Williamson really, I mean, there were some kills that are not as brutal in Scream. I could say the shotgun kills were pretty brutal, but I was not, in 5 and 6, the kills weren't that brutal. But this one feels more like, oh my God, this is brutal. I actually, there's a scene where a guy gets literally killed by someone takes his head, hit him when he's dying, and then puts him on top of one of those beer brewers handles and shoves his face through there to where his skull goes through there, and all of a sudden beer comes out of his mouth and it turns to blood. It was so cool. I'm like, that's awesome. And then of course a woman gets set on fire at the beginning where I'm just so brutal. There's some brutal deaths. I mean, this one woman even gets gutted, when she's hanging by a rope. The killer just slashing at her until her guts come out. I'm like, oh, this is cool, and everything. And I do the movie does have Tatum's daughter and everything, and I really like that. And also, there's a lot of music cues that I really enjoy in the movie that they bring back from the first Scream that I kind of really liked. I'm like, oh, almost every single score from the first Scream is in this movie, from down to the ending, musical score is down there. And I will say though, my issue with that is I love it, but it feels like it's just there to be cameo scores. you know, where it's like, oh, remember this? Like, oh, we're playing Don't Fear the Reaper, the remix from the first Scream, when Tatum's in the bedroom with her boyfriend. We're playing, like, this is supposed to be like Billy and Sydney from Scream 1. Remember? We're playing the same score. And then my issue is, then they just cut it out after. It's like, oh, remember this? All right, you hear it? Now, all right, now we're on to new score. Like, it's like Marco Berletti, who returned the score. This is his first time returning, you know, since Scream 4. And I'm like, all right, he's going to bring a new score in. But it feels like mostly it's just rehashes of the old score. And even Red Right Hand's in this, to where I'm like, I feel like they kind of like just try to like, you know, reuse it for, it feels almost like it's trying to remake the first Scream score, because everything down to like, there's even scenes that are shot for shot scenes that are just recomposing the same scene. For instance, when everybody's locking up for curfew in the scene, they play Red Right Hand, and I'm just like, that is exactly what they did in the first Scream. Why are they just repeating the same scenes with the same music? Why not try different scenes? Like, I mean, Red Right Hand should definitely be in every Scream movie. I will stand on that, die on that hill. But I'm like, you could have used it anywhere. There's other places I'm like, they could use it. But I understand, like, I mean, it worked in the scene, but I'm just like, did you really need it in that scene, you know? Also, like, the scene at the end, when, like, after it's all over, they're playing the same music they played at the end of the first Scream. I'm like, why would you, like, the, you know, like, they're trying to play that song, like, at the end when, you know, Dewey's, like doing the thumbs up. They do that at the end of the first Scream. They do it in this movie, but then they cut it short to listen to for a new score. They do it, and then they bring a new score in, because I'm like, I guess Marco Berletti's like, all right, we heard the fan service score, now we're hearing my score. You know, I'm just like, I feel like that's like a studio note or something, like, where it's like, you got to hear all the scores. I don't know why. I feel like, you know, it just, a lot of it feels like fan service scores, which I'd rather have heard a new original score from him with just, like, you could drop the little beats of the old score, but, like, keep us, like, new. And, you know, I know, which, one thing also I had issue with is, I know a lot of people are like, okay, why would, you know, what happened? Like, Sydney, kind of, there's moments in the movie that are dumb. Like, for instance, the police search the entire house, and then they don't look in the attic, and the killer's in the attic, and then he drops down and starts killing them. I thought that was stupid. I'm like, that is so dumb. And especially, it's the chief's house. He literally should have told him, hey, look at my attic, and then it would have been all over. They would have got him. Instead, it's like, oh, he drops down, and I understand, like, the attic's up there, but, like, and maybe you could have missed it, but, like, the chief would know. I mean, unless I was thinking, I was the whole time, like, maybe he has to be involved, because why would you tell them not to look in your attic, you know, unless you know the killer's up there? And nope, it was just flaws in the movie. And then on top of that, Sydney Stu calls her and says, I'm at the pizzeria, your daughter, to kill your daughter for being a naughty girl, which, by the way, Matthew Lillard's great in this movie. All the scenes he has are great in the movie. The thing is, though, Sydney runs out of the news station, and then she realizes that she doesn't have her keys, so she just runs to her daughter, and their daughter's not close either. And I'm just like, why wouldn't you just run back in there, get your keys? It would save you so much time. That makes no sense. That made me, I'm like, why wouldn't you go grab your keys? Which, by the way, I forgot about that in my notes, and my friend Stephanie from I Love the Popcorn pointed that out to me. She was like, why wouldn't she? That was so dumb that she went and grabbed her keys. She didn't go grab her keys. Like, girl, it's 2 minutes. Like, you know, so thank you, Steph. Shout out to Stephanie for, you know, for helping me bring that point up to me. And also, you know, I thought, you know, like, I always enjoy, like, I'm a huge Kelly and Mark fan. I'm a Regis and Kelly guy. So seeing Mark Consuelo, even though he's in 3 scenes, I thought he was great in this movie. I mean, it's a little fun, little small role. I mean, he has more of a role than David Arquette, who's in the freaking cast list. David Arquette is only in 1 scene, and it's a cameo on an AI monitor. And I'm just like, it feels like all these people just, like, they literally shot this in their home. It doesn't feel like these are real. Like, Stu actually feels real. The rest of them just feel like they just shot it, like, all right, like, hey, can you just take your iPhone and shoot it? That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like these are actually real. And I'm just like, why wouldn't you get these people, put them in Ghostface costume, and it would make more sense? Instead, it just makes it seem like you're just being lazy at that point, you know? Like, these are very lazy cameos, you know? Like, I don't ever want to hear someone say a DC cameo is lazy. This is the most laziest AI cameos ever. And also, you couldn't brought Richie in for Scream 5 for a cameo. I mean, you have a connection. I understand Amber. I know a girl played Amber. What's her name? forget the girl who won the Oscar for Nora, I think, who played Amber Freeman in Scream 5. She literally, they asked her, Mikey Madison. She was literally supposed to, they asked her to cameo, but she, I guess, because the controversy, with Melissa Barrera and stuff, I guess she was loyal to her as a friend. And so she just said, oh, my camera's broken. I can't, she wouldn't have any bad blood with Spyglass. So they're like, oh, he said, oh, what about your back camera? Oh, that's broken too. So she didn't want to do a cameo, which I would have been like, why don't you just go to then Jack Quaid? I'm sure he would have done it. I mean, because I understand, 5 and 6 are not really Sidney's villains, like 1 through 4 are, which they never had Emma Roberts in the movie either. Like Emma Roberts would have been excellent to have as a cameo, which, maybe they did have her, and maybe they just cut her out because it just, who knows? Maybe Jack Quaid was, and then they just cut him out. But I understand 6 villains wouldn't have made sense. But I did enjoy, though, like, those are my big critiques with the movie. And also, Gail's in the movie to do what Gail does. So, and also, the twins get stabbed again, and they're all fine this time. They're like, oh, we're fine. And, there are things in them, and there's also, like, if someone gets stabbed by Ghostface and they're crawling on their knees rather than, like, he's like, I got this, goes in there and gets stabbed. And then, of course, he's, like, on the ground going, ugh. I'm like, why wouldn't you just stay there? You could have protected her. And then if you got stabbed, just pretend like you're dead. Then Ghostface wouldn't have tried to, like, kill you with the beer handle. And also, the reveals are kind of dumb because it's Sidney's neighbor, and it's the guy from it's the nurse orderly from the mental hospital. And, that's I felt like their motivation, because she says, oh, she was a big fan of her self-help book, Out of Darkness. And so it motivated her to kill her husband. And then, she went crazy because Sidney was, not a big what Sidney was, didn't help her the way she thought she would. So she basically got committed and got out, met the orderly guy, I guess, during the hospital trip. And then they tricked somebody into killing in the first half of the movie. And then they're going to be like, and then they're going to then they're going to follow his footsteps and kill the rest of the way. And wouldn't it have made more sense, though, if he would have been your red herring the whole time? Like, he would have tried to kill Sidney, and then he disappears, and then you kill, and then at the end, you bring him and you shoot him in the head and be like, all right, he was our red herring the whole time. He's the ghost face, and then he disappears. It makes sense. He's the one behind Billy, and then or she could kill the other guy, the orderly, and they were in it together, and then she goes out cold free. Instead, usually the ghost face have a backup plan how this is all going to play out. It really never, other than it's like, we're going to kill Sidney and her daughter and make her daughter watch. That's really the only crucial plan to where it doesn't really make sense to me. Also, Kevin Williamson kind of confirmed this week that there was plans to use Stu, like in a post-credit scene, the Stu was going to be actually alive. But apparently the test audiences hated that he was alive and said, no, he should be dead. So they cut that out and said they're not going to bring Stu's dead officially. And which kind of bums me out, because I would like to have been the final boss Ghostface, in the future for the end of the Scream series. But that's what it is. I did enjoy like the story length, because I do feel like the story is pretty good. Like, it does have a good story, like the kills and everything, are really good. And I do like the Gail and Sidney dynamic, because it feels like in Scream 5 and 6, you don't really get that with Sidney in Scream 5, because I feel like they're more side characters in this movie. And like Melissa Barrera was the lead in Scream 5, compared to this movie where Sidney is the lead. Gail is her supporting character, which Gail doesn't come in until like 30 minutes into the film. But I still enjoy, she still has, like, once she comes in, she's with her throughout the entire film. Except at the end, when she should have called Gail, that's an also critique. She should have called Gail and be like, hey, Gail, I need you to show up here with a pistol, and, way you could ambush them. That would have been, but I understand it's supposed to be a Sidney daughter moment, and Gail would have kind of ruined it. I do like, though, like, whenever the killer shows up, because it's like, oh, it's Stu, and then I kind of was figuring, like, there's no way, because it's trying to do a meta, and it's with AI, so I knew it wasn't going to be Stu. So whenever it shows up and she peels, I'm like, it's the neighbor, because I'm like, kind of like, it's got to be either Mark Consuelo, it's got to be the neighbor, or it's got to be, like, the boyfriend, or the dad, or the daughter. It's got to be one of those couple, because it's got to be always two people. And I do like how they brought a Ghostface in the beginning of the movie that burns down the Stu Macher's house and everything. I thought that whole opening sequence was great, where he kills the woman, then he stabs her boyfriend in the head, like he pretends to be animatronic, stabs her in the head, and then he chases her up the stairs and everything, and then he falls down, and then she falls into his knife, and then he pours gasoline all over the place and sets her on fire. That was awesome. And I also really enjoyed the scene. I really like, McKenna Grace, how like she gets gutted. I thought that was pretty cool. And I do like how the boyfriend is trying to, I know it's playing that tropes of is he or isn't he the killer? And obviously he wasn't, but there was like a dumb moment where he tried to see if you could use AI. And so they try to like, oh, he's the killer, kind of do like the cell phone thing. They play those tropes, but that's Scream. They always do those tropes. And I do really like whenever, like, because they're like, the killer, like the whole, when the killer's chasing him in the panic room and he just starts, like, the killers are brutal. Like when they're trying to stab through a wall and stuff, like when she's at the coffee shop, the killer's just trying to stab through, like Michael Myers and Rob Zombie's Halloween. I'm like, oh damn, he's trying to get to her and everything. And I do like how the killer just starts gutting people left and right at the pizzeria and stuff. And I do enjoy those. I think those are really great. The kills are really great in this movie. And I do think that, like literally after they revealed their big plan, and everything at the orderly, like Sydney just shoots the guy in the head, and then the other one, there's a big tussle and everything. And I was hoping when she stabs her, like the garage door, it would kill her the way it killed Tate in Scream 1. And apparently in test screenings, she was supposed to be Stu Macher's sister. And that was really the motivation, but apparently Test Sciences hated that because they feel like it's another sibling bullshit thing. So they cut that and just redid that, make it where they reshot it where she's that she's just a woman that was abused and killed her husband. Well, she killed her own son too, which I was like, that's really fucked up. And I'm like, I can't believe she killed her son because she looked like her dad. I'm like, damn. I was like, that's dark. I did really enjoy this movie, and I do like that, like the twins are trying to steal Gail's thunder. She's like, and Gail kind of falls back on she's just trying to be a reporter again. That I really enjoy, and I actually do really enjoy this movie. I think it is a fun addition. Now, would it be my favorite Scream movie? No. But is it a fun sequel? I would say it's better than Scream 5 and Scream 3, but I would say it's not better than 1, 2, or 4. And I would say 6 is a little bit better, but I would still say it's a fun movie. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it a B+. Thank you so much.
Sharpton for president, y'all. I'm outie.
Jesse Jackson for VP.